But traditional methods have no answers to some situations. Back at Hospital La Paz, Dr. Conchari and his team are in action again. This time it's an emergency. Senora Chamero and her unborn child are in danger.
In this situation, an ordinary birth is not possible. That's why we are attempting a cesarean operation. We are going to have to see how we can bring the baby out safely. It will involve putting the hand, which is in the birth canal, back inside so that the head can come out first. We'll have to see how it goes.
If Lydia were to have this complication when she gives birth in 5 months' time, the situation would be critical. She is so far from an operating theatre that it is unlikely doctors would have a chance to save her. She and her child would most likely die during the birth. Bolivia suffers from one of the highest rates of maternal mortality in South America. The process of birth remains one of the most dangerous times of life for both mother and child. In Hospital La Paz, the cesarean operation is almost over, and it looks like it has been a success.
The baby was very tangled up. In order to extract it, we had to take the feet out first. It was difficult to do, because we had to turn it around.
But the doctors in La Paz have done their job well. Senora Chamero and her child can now be safely reunited. For people far from hospital care, other approaches must be used to minimize their exposure to the risk of illness or death. Nurse Gladys is continuing on her journey through the high plains. Today, she's headed for the village of Kia. Next to pregnant women, it is children who are most at risk. Local health workers estimate that over 50% of the children in this region are chronically malnourished. However, over recent years, great strides have been made to improve their chances. Backed by the World Health Organization, the Health Service has been focusing its attention on Bolivia's children. Thanks to the work of nurses like Gladys, they have almost halved the infant mortality rate since 1990. Then, over 13% of children born in Bolivia would never see their first birthday. Now the figure is 7% and falling. And new ideas to improve health are coming from all quarters. Some have even looked to history to provide solutions. The existence of malnutrition on the Alto Plano had been something of a puzzle. For millennia, this was the home to many thriving, healthy civilizations. Hundreds of thousands of people existed here, living well in the thin air and off the poor soils that cause so much trouble today. A warmer climate and lost agricultural technologies may have been factors in their success. But what they planted could have been equally important. Scientists now think that the answer to today's problems could be found in neglected Andean crops. Raul Saravia Zurita is an agricultural engineer. He's been investigating the secrets of one of Bolivia's homegrown wonders. This is quinoa.
Quinoa is a crop which is highly tolerant to the extreme conditions found here on the Altiplano. It can withstand drought and freezing temperatures. Few crops are able to flourish that well in this climate.
Perfectly suited to the Altiplano, it has been discovered that quinoa also has quite extraordinary nutritional qualities. It has been classified by the United Nations as a supergrain.
Quinoa has been classified as a super grain because of its very high protein content. Between 14 and 18% of quinoa is protein, and it contains an impressive number of essential amino acids.
Wider consumption of these nutritious native crops could be one part of the solution to the malnutrition problem in Bolivia. It is a tragedy of history that this supergrain is not in widespread use today. The Spanish colonization of South America is mostly to blame. Because of its connection with the indigenous culture, quinoa cultivation was actively suppressed.
It is said that when the Spanish arrived, they prohibited the growing of quinoa because it was crucial to the Indian sacred rituals. The Spanish didn't want the Indians to be able to perform these forbidden ceremonies.
Quinoa production was also decimated by the colonial imposition of European crops. Barley and corn were forcibly introduced and replaced indigenous plants, much to the detriment of poor peasants who did not have replacement sources for the key nutrients contained in the quinoa. But now quinoa and other nutritious local grains are fighting back. New varieties are being produced, sweeter tasting and larger grain than the originals. And the people of the Alto Plano are being encouraged to consume larger amounts of quinoa in their diets.
It's a difficult task to change the food habits of a population, but we are trying, and we hope to soon increase the consumption of quinoa amongst the communities here, and eventually see an improvement in their health.
Improving diet is one of the main themes brought up by Gladys in a meeting she has organised for mothers and mothers-to-be. Research has shown that the children of women with no formal education face substantially higher risk of infant death. As almost 40% of rural women are illiterate, oral education is the preferred method for bringing the health messages to those who need them the most. The women are encouraged to make full use of SUMI, the new national insurance system, providing free health care for all mothers-to-be, new mothers and children under 5. While she's in the village, Gladys makes a visit to Lydia at home. Gladys checks Lydia for signs of problems in her pregnancy, examining her eyes and her legs for danger signs of anemia or high blood pressure. She can now provide iron supplements to compensate for anemia during pregnancy and also offer her invaluable advice.
I've warned Lydia to be careful when climbing the hills. I've told her about the risk of causing a miscarriage. I've also advised her to get more rest and to get her husband to take over more of the chores.
Thanks to this visit, Gladys may have saved Lydia's life. She has certainly given her a fighting chance. For pregnant women and young children in Bolivia, progress is slowly being made. The hospitals are changing. The importance of a healthy, balanced diet, prioritising vegetables and native grain crops for proteins, vitamins and minerals, is now taught to new mothers like Senora Chamero as part of the maternity service they receive. And maternity units all over the country are now doing what they can to make their hospitals more attractive to a suspicious population.
The community doesn't have to change, we have to change, and offer a more acceptable face to the people. They must feel that we are an open and welcoming place for them to come to.
By changing, we can make things better. Originally, people were afraid of coming here. We wear white clothes, we are from a different culture, so we must make changes to compensate for that. But there also has to be a commitment on behalf of the community to come here and to believe in us.
We want to become the trusted friends of the community.
On the Alto Plano, more quinoa is now growing, and funds from NGOs are helping to provide greenhouses for vitamin-rich vegetables to survive in this hostile environment. It's a good start, but so far their effect is still limited. Life for women and children in the furthest reaches of the country remains hard.
I don't know what future will bring. We are used to living this way, with the few resources we have. I don't believe things will change soon. This now makes me frightened, because of what might happen when I give birth. If I die, I don't know what will happen to my children.
It will take more time, money and commitment by governments and aid agencies before women like Lydia can rest easy. For the sake of her children, it's a goal worth fighting for.